This is a video to show you how to pull all the necessary information about a given city that you need to know in order to evaluate development opportunities in that given market. We're going to be looking at Fremont, California, which is in Alameda County. We're using a Podio site here to essentially track all this necessary information that we need to find. We don't need to fill out everything, but there are a few essential resources that we need to find in order to understand this city for find opportunities. Okay, so I first search for the city of Fremont, and we can do something easy first, which is just the Fremont, California zoning map. That's what I type in the search bar. Brings me to a map section here. When I do find the logo, I like to save the logo of the city to upload to Podio, just so that I get my bearings in terms of how they're branding themselves. So I'll snap a shot on there. I will then come down here, zoning maps. So it wants us to go to the zoning map or zoning web page. You can also pull the general plan. And really what I'm following here are all of the links that we need to upload to Podio in order to make sure that we have a good sense for these critical resources. So I also noticed that there's a development activity map. This is another thing that we seek to have at our disposal to understand what's happening in a given market. Let's see, agency counter, planning maps. There might be some other resources here that we want to look at, but let's first go into the zoning section. This is the general plan that it's pointing to. We've got the zoning code here. So it's making it fairly easy for us to pull the information that we need. So yeah, we'll be able to find the zoning districts. So we can use this as our link to the zoning code. Just type the link in there, copy and paste it. See if it has anything else. I do like this logo better than the one that we had before. So I'm going to copy and paste this one. And we'll be able to upload that to Podio. So for the logo, add city logo, choose your file. And from the desktop, City of Fremont logo. So they're clearly trying to brand themselves with some hillsides in the background. I did type it into the Google Maps section here, which will be helpful as a reference point. I do want to try and find some sort of neighborhood map that will help us orient ourselves there. So the planning website, I'm not sure if this is the exact website or if we can go to this one. Always try and find the link to the highest level of the page that has everything. So this seems to be the right section for the planning department. So I'll copy this link in here. Again, these are all for future reference, but essentially want to build the list of all the information that we need. There is a section to add the information for the permit center if you ever have to actually go there in person. So here's the address for the planning department and other development services. So you click on that and you give you a map to check out, see if they have, so they have a phone number. Definitely easier to call the permit centers to actually talk to them. And sometimes there is an email address, which it looks like there is. So I'm going to copy the email address, put that in here. Really, when you start to analyze deals and get a sense for their code, it might make sense to just ask them general questions rather than trying to interpret it yourselves. So general plan, this is what we found for the general plan. Now on here, I do either put a link. Yeah, these are all web addresses. I like for the general plan this, and the specific plan to be the actual websites, just because there's a lot of information on these general plans and it's impossible to just include one PDF. So general plan, we also want to see if they have any specific plans, which might require us to look a little bit deeper. And some cities have done a specific planning process where they're looking at a given part of the city in more detail. Some of them do not, though. So it might be the case that, so there are community plan areas. This might be it. You might need to search for Fremont, California specific plans to bring up a different website to check out. What did we bring up here? All right, so this is the development activity. So usually I like to have a interactive map that tracks the development activity. This is a PDF. It is going to be helpful, but obviously it will get outdated. So that's something to keep in mind for the development activity. This is the general plan, community areas. This might be a good map for us to get our bearings. And when I say get our bearings, I mean actually get a clear sense for the different parts of the city. So I think I'm going to use this as my area map. So I can talk about North Fremont or Central Fremont, something that I can easily reference in the future. It's just a matter of trying to get it into the shot, which that helped to do. So Fremont is a new market that I've never really analyzed before. So this is all new territory for me. I've never actually looked at the city. And so this is a video to show you exactly what I'm looking for without ever having to really have been into a city before. So for the neighborhood map, I'm just trying to find the most relevant map that I can find so we can communicate about different parts of the city. You might be able to find a different map as you search through the different resources, but I'd say pull down the most relevant map that you find. Oftentimes a Google search about Fremont, California neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are usually a good way to start to organize the different areas of a city. So that community plan area was just for the actual plan areas of the city general plan, but it doesn't seem to have specific plans. So we're going to come back to that. I think we're done on this website. We got all the information that we needed. We got the zoning code. Okay, so back to zoning map. So find my zoning district. This might be a good tool. We're really looking for both a map, a PDF map, and we do want to link that PDF map to the Podio site. We also want to have a GIS map, which is an interactive map that we can click through and understand the different parcels and the parameters of those parcels for a given city. So hopefully this GIS map, which seems like it's loading, will give us what we need. So clearly it's branded by the city. It's a GIS format, so it's interactive, and it looks like it's got different overlays that we can use. For example, for zoning, we can click this on and we can see the different zones and click through the different maps. I'm assuming to get to different parcels. So maybe test out one parcel and see if it brings up information, which it looks like it does. So this is exactly what we need. All right, so we're gonna link this to the site here because this is going to be one of our critical tools that we're going to use. So we're going to link it to the parcel map. So this will be a quick access tool that we can go to. We still need to find the PDF version of that map though. So let's see if we can find a PDF of the zoning map. Zoning verification letter. Let's see, maps. Okay, so there's a maps section here. This might have it. General plans, zoning maps. It does point me back to this website. So commercial areas, priority development areas. This might be a good resource to have. Major projects. So all of these maps are actually pretty darn helpful to get a sense quickly for a site. So we're gonna have to go back to the zoning webpage and see if we can find the PDF. And we really wanna have a PDF because it makes it a lot easier to understand. Description of zoning districts. You might wanna open up this, get a quick description of the different zoning areas. That could be a helpful tool. Still not seeing anything though. So I'm going to search for Fremont zoning map PDF. This would be another way to find it quickly. And ideally we'll be able to find something. Okay, so Fremont zoning map PDF from Zoning Point. This is another website that tracks a bunch of zoning information. So they basically link to the map and the code, which is great, but doesn't quite get us everything that we need. So let's see what PDF they have here. Looks like it is a PDF. So we can copy and paste their link. And assuming we'll come back to that, assuming that will bring up the zoning map, we're going to type the PDF map here. Usually when it is a true PDF, it will bring up a preview of the zoning map. Let's see what it ended up producing. Zoning atlas. So this, I think we saw on the previous page. So when we went here, find my zoning atlas map book index map. This must be the same map that they have. It doesn't look like a traditional zoning map though. The zoning map will typically have different color coding for a given area, but this might be how they go about organizing their zoning map. I'm not quite sure. So this is clearly a map that gives us some bearings, but then it's going to be a matter of, this looks interactive. So this might be the most relevant thing that we have. Let's click on one of these to see where it takes us. And maybe that's where it will blow up. Okay, that's how they do it. So they actually link these different sub views to different PDFs. So that's kind of helpful. So we're gonna link this map. So we're not gonna do the one from the third-party website. We're gonna do ideally, this is the case for all of them. Ideally, you're taking the snapshots or the links from the websites directly. So land use map would be another one that we're looking for. This land use map is typically tied to the general plan. And we'll have to figure out if we have access to that. Zoning atlas revisions, zoning ordinance. So here's the general plan again. So we're going to go back into the general plan and see if they have a map of the land use areas, which is different from the zoning map. The land use areas will tell you the different areas by use. So residential, commercial, industrial, those types of uses, as opposed to the specific code or the specific zones on the maps that will point to the given areas. So this looks like what we need. Again, general plan land use map. And we will link this to this section, just so we can get our sense for what this is. We can zoom in on the legend and understand how they are differentiating here. So these are land use categories. These are not necessarily the zones. So we need to get a sense for what the land use areas are, as well as the zoning codes. And this is a better breakdown of the zoning districts. So these codes are different from the general plan areas. So residential, they talk about HR, low, medium, URB, urban, versus the other areas which are not designated with those same descriptors. These are instead R1, R2, R3, RG. Okay, so any other links that you feel like would be helpful, I tend to just include them in the lower section of Podio in notes. So we can call this zoning district descriptions. So any other useful links that you come across to help get a sense for a given city, I want you to put into the notes section. All right, so we've got our land use map, we've got our zoning districts, and we've got our, I think this is the zoning map. These are the priority development areas. So this would be another important thing to include in the other notes section, just because when we're starting to think about what we need to target, we're going to start to think about where the priority areas are in general. So this immediately gives us a sense for where we should probably start looking for development opportunities. And you can see the blue are those areas. The reds are the reduced priority development areas. I do like to look for opportunities in these outskirt areas as opposed to like the central core of the city, just because the bigger developers have probably already looked at most of those opportunities. And then the priority production areas, I guess these are more industrial land areas. So I think the BART station and the train stations run along this route. So this is clearly where they want development to occur. But that doesn't mean that there's other areas that we can't also look for. All right, so let's copy this link and put this into the other section. And we're going to call these the priority development areas. And these might correspond to the specific plan areas too. So that might become the link that we use in this specific plan area. Why don't we, before we move on, look at that too. So Fremont, California specific plan. Let's see if they have any specific plans. So North Fremont specific plans, but this is the city of Monterey. So there's a Fremont Avenue specific plan, but this is probably a different city. So again, it's not the highest priority. The most important things that we found, I think we've captured. So construction activity map, this might be a better map compared to the other one that we found, which was a PDF of the development activity happening. So yeah, any sort of interactive maps are definitely more relevant, given that we can actually stay up to date with what's happening, so it doesn't get outdated. I'm not sure. Yeah, planning applications, building permits, engineering permits. So they've updated these in 2017. So that's actually pretty long ago. At the same time, there's some reference to a different date down here. But I do like how they have under consideration, decisions made. Some websites will have the pipeline for the actual construction activity starts and completed projects as well. So this might be helpful for us to have as a reference too. So we will put this in the section for, where is it? development projects. And again, there might be a better map. We found one. So this was the general plan, community plan areas. This is the development activity. This is through 2021. So this might be a more relevant, given that right now it's 2022. So this is only 6 to 9 months old. So I think this might actually be a better resource than this one, even though the other one is interactive. We might have to update this over time. So these other sections are really going to come over time. So we're really not going to understand the level of depth that we need to understand around affordable housing and their fee schedules or permitting and building costs. We will want to be filling out the zoning, the target zones, and that's what our next step will be in interpreting the market. So I think we've captured everything. Again, we're going to leave the specific plan section blank, but that essentially covers Fremont, California. And we can then just click out of here and make sure that it's now all visible for somebody to review and start to target opportunities. So